What do you think about atomic bomb? If you don't want to talk about it, fine, it's a thorny topic. It's just that I'm worried about Brazil's geopolitical positioning, because the atomic bomb is a great deterrent to foreign interests to manipulate domestic politics.
The atomic bomb is a guarantee that you will never be invaded. If you are a small country, surrounded by enemies in the middle of a lot of dictatorship and you have an atomic bomb, you are safer. There is a country that is an example of this, which is Israel. Israel is a small country. The surrounding Arab countries, which have some are already at peace but others are not. They have a lot more population, a lot more army and have an atomic bomb. It's a way to protect. You can say the guy doesn't mess with me here, so that's an advantage. But let's talk about the disadvantages. Each new country that make an atomic bomb, there is more chance of someone pushing a wrong button on someone, make a wrong calculation, and today if I'm not mistaken, there are 8 countries with an atomic bomb: United States, Russia, France, England, India, Pakistan, North Korea, China. Israel does not declare whether or not it has. Some people think they have and some people who think they don't have. It's 8, I wouldn't like to see 80 or more.
Could it be that Brazil has it and we don't declare it? There were rumors like that.
I don't think Brazil needs an atomic bomb. Brazil, fortunately, hasn't had a war since 1860, since 1870. It was when the Paraguayan War ended, 1870. So we are 150 years without any war. Our territory has no sworn enemies. Brazil has no enemies. The countries around Brazil are smaller and have much less economy, much less population and no atomic bomb. I can't imagine a scenario where an atomic bomb is useful. In Brazil, nothing that we can't solve on our own too, not to set a bad example. Oh, Brazil now has one. Argentina will want it and then everyone will want to have one too. I don't want to see a world with 100 countries with an atomic bomb. Very dangerous.
Do you think any country would push the button? I think not. We have a very strong survival instinct. Just to kill everyone, right?
Dude, in theory no, but there is a bloodthirsty dictator, crazy people, there is a calculation error. There was the Cuban Missile Crisis in the 1960s that almost came to a close. Now I will talk about the controversies. Until today, the atomic bomb saved many more lives than killed them.
Truth.
Super controversial, it can change. I'm not saying it's wonderful. I'm telling you a fact. If there wasn't the atomic bomb, a lot of people would have died over the last 70 years.
Because there would be a lot more armed conflicts.
Exactly. Because the existence of the atomic bomb prevented the Third World War. When you had the United States and Russia at various times, they reached a level of tension that at any previous period would have had war. World War III, there were trouble in Berlin, trouble in Vietnam, trouble in North and South Korea, and at various other times. Cuban Missile Crisis, several moments where the war almost arrived, the ways in fact. But they had the atomic bomb, were 2 countries alone in the conflict. And everybody knew that pushing the button ends the world. They ended up not going to war. And another curious thing in World War II, which was the only time the bomb was used. Hiroshima-Nagasaki takes place in August 45 was the only time they used an atomic bomb. This is super controversial. If there was no atomic bomb, with absolute certainty, more Americans and more Japanese would have died. Because the United States would have to invade Japan with troops. Japan was already, at that moment, I'm talking about 45, the war in Europe was over. The Second War was almost over, but Japan was armed. In Japan, they were talking about that, 100 million people can die and we are going to defend every inch of our country, so to defeat Japan. Many Japanese and Americans would die, and I don't want to see a malicious cut here, saying that I am in favor of the atomic bomb. You know the internet.
Well, I am. I like to be controversial, not that they use the atomic bomb. But the United States didn't have to have used.
Imagine you are President Truman. The Roosevelt had died. You are the president. You have a weapon that if you drop a bomb, you end the war. 1 bomb. Threw a bomb.
Threw 2 bombs.
Japan did not surrender. Hiroshima, threw the second one in Nagasaki. so the bombs killed a lot of people. It was 60,000 in Hiroshima and 40,000, Nagasaki. A tragedy with 60,000 dead. But in the bombing of Tokyo, which took place a few months before, conventional, killed more than 100,000 people, so thousands of American planes went with firebombing over the entire city, not that it was a walk in the park. So, the atomic bomb sucks and killed a lot of people. If they hadn't, it's a fact that they would have died a lot more, it would have been a lot worse. In that regard, the atomic bomb hastened the end of the war. The Japanese took those bombs, and they said, "There's no way." Ended, and surrendered, and the war ended immediately. And since then, Japan is a peaceful, democratic and developed country.
You are right.
Putting in context.
Looks like it's not that bad, it has its good sides. They had to use it to prove they had it and to show what the effects are.
If you call Japan and say they have an atomic bomb and, can you surrender? There's nothing to do.
They don't know what it is capable of, nobody ever heard of.
You're the president of the country, young people are dying. You were attacked by Japan by surprise, you didn't start the war, it was the Japanese who started it. Remember Pearl Harbor, surprise attack against your country. You have a bomb to end the war and save the lives of your citizens, dropped.
These are tough decisions. Life sometimes has decisions that always have a bad side, but we have to decide which is the least worse. It's like voting in Brazil.
I like your analogy. Voting is like dropping an atomic bomb.
Sometimes it's the same.
It's funny that there are people who are that hysterical anti-Americanism that thinks anything could derail the United States. That speaks, but the United States, it was the only country that dropped the atomic bomb, yes, in that context, at that moment, it was the only thing to do, it was a rational thing to do.
Yes, several countries have already tested the atomic bomb. Just not in others.
Yeah, never used it with people.